Good afternoon. My name is Dr. Paul Jefferiss, and I am the Director of the Centre for Climate Engagement at Hughes Hall, which is a college at Cambridge University. The centre makes academic research on climate law and policy available to large companies and governments to improve climate decision-making in the real world. I'm also the chair of the Greater South East Net Zero Hub, which is a UK central government agency that offers grants and support and advice to help city and local government authorities accelerate their transition to net zero. In the past, I've worked in the private sector as head of policy at BP, in the NGO world as executive director at the Green Alliance, and in carbon consultancy as senior advisor on strategy and innovation at the Carbon Trust. Today, I've been asked to address two key questions. The first is whether I agree that green development, especially renewable energy, promotes security, which is a top priority for China and other countries. The answer is yes. Green development promotes security in many ways. First, domestically produced renewable energy provides energy independence to protect countries from geopolitical shocks of the kind we've seen in the past few years, such as the wars in Ukraine and the Middle East, which push up oil prices, encouraging countries without fossil resources to accelerate their transition to domestic renewable resources. The second way in which green development promotes security is that renewable energy technologies tend to be more labor than resource intensive, thereby creating new industries and jobs. And this enhances social welfare and security. Renewables also offer lower and more predictable future energy costs, which increases economic security. And for countries like China, that have led on the innovation and manufacturing of renewable energy technologies, they also offer a source of export growth, also promoting economic security. Finally, and most importantly, in the context of the COP, green development promotes environmental security, especially for the climate and biodiversity. And that's because, as well as reducing most forms of environmental pollution and direct damage, such as oil spills, renewable energy produces low or no greenhouse gas emissions, slowing the rate of climate change itself. This, in turn, reduces the security risks that arise from climate change, such as disease, food insecurity, storm damage, migration, war, and so on. But although it promotes the most important forms of security, energy, jobs, economic, and environmental, renewable energy can also create some challenges of its own. In particular, its intermittent nature can cause challenges for the day-to-day and season-to-season energy security and grid system stability. We saw the consequences of this in Portugal earlier this year. So the second question I've been asked to address today is, what are the key strategies for coordinating and balancing a secure energy supply with the green low-carbon transition? For me, this security challenge is much smaller and more limited than the major security opportunities from green power. It's a technical rather than a fundamental challenge and is typical of most new and emerging technologies. For this reason, the strategies to address it are mainly about technology and innovation. And for this reason, enormous progress has already and quickly been made, especially in China. One part of that strategy is to encourage a diverse supply portfolio with a combination of dispatchable resources like nuclear and abated gas and intermittent renewables. Another part of the strategy is to understand the different characteristics of different energy supply sources, for example, in terms of intermittency and frequency. A third part is to understand broad patterns of domestic and industrial energy demand. A fourth part is to use technology and especially artificial intelligence to acquire data about actual demand and supply in real time. The fifth part is to manage and control demand and supply. through a combination of policy and market pricing, especially time and place charging, to create a balance between the two. A sixth part is to physically strengthen the grid to manage the balance at the right times in the right places, including through the use of distributed or embedded generation. And a final part is to use short and long-term storage technologies to smooth out supply and even move it around, for example, in the form of renewable hydrogen. China and the State Grid Company, which manages the largest electricity grid in the world, has already played a leading role in adopting these strategies, and the new report describing the state grid's contribution to security clearly describes the impressive progress it has made. Thank you.